Welcome back to my channel. Today we explore the value of specific coins, the top 6 Monticello Jefferson nickel 5-cent coins value in today's market in dollars. So let's get started. The 1995 P Monticello nickel in damaged condition and what it's worth in the current market. If you've got one of these coins lying around, this video could help you understand its value, even if it's in less than perfect shape. Let's get into it. First off, let's talk about the coin itself. This is the 1995 P Monticello nickel minted at the Philadelphia Mint. As part of the Jefferson Nickels series, it features Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and on the obversello, his iconic Virginia home, on the reverse. The P Mint mark indicates it was struck in Philadelphia. Now, in normal, good condition, this coin is worth its face value of 5 cents. But what happens when the coin is in damaged condition? Maybe it's scratched, worn, or has some other form of impairment. Does it still hold value for collectors? When it comes to damaged coins, the value is usually affected. The more damage the coin has, the less it's worth. This is because collectors tend to prefer coins in better condition. However, there's still some demand for certain damaged coins, especially if they're rare or have some kind of unique imperfection. For a 1995 P Monticello nickel in damaged condition, you're likely looking at a value of around 5 to 20 cents in today's market, depending on the severity of the damage. If the damage is minor, like light scratches or discoloration, you might be able to fetch closer to 20 cents. However, if the coin is heavily worn, scratched, or dented, the value will likely hover closer to the 5-cent range. Basically, it's worth close to face value. Now, you might be wondering, is it worth keeping or selling a damaged coin like this? If you're just a casual collector, there's no harm in holding on to it. But if you're looking to sell, you might not get much unless it's part of a larger collection or if there's something particularly rare about the damage. To get a better idea of how the condition impacts value, let's take a quick look at some other examples. This 1995 P Monticello nickel in perfect condition could be worth anywhere from 50 cents to a few dollars, depending on how well it's graded. But again, damage can significantly lower its value. So what's the takeaway here? A 1995 P Monticello nickel in damaged condition won't make you rich, but it can still have some value, just not much more than face value unless it's in better shape or has a unique error. Next up, the 2001 D Monticello nickel struck at the Denver Mint and exploring its value in fine condition in today's coin market. If you've got one of these coins or you're just curious about the value of modern nickels, stay tuned. Let's dive in. All right, so let's start with the basics. This is the 2001 D Monticello nickel, part of the Jefferson Nickels series. On the obverse, we have a portrait of Thomas Jefferson, and on the reverse, the beautiful depiction of Monticello, Jefferson's historic home in Virginia. The D Mint mark tells us that this coin was minted in Denver. The 2001 design is part of the series that continues to honor Jefferson and his legacy. But what makes this coin special today is its condition. We're talking about the 2001 D Monticello nickel in fine condition. Fine condition means the coin shows noticeable wear, but the main details are still visible. For example, Jefferson's features in Monticello are well defined, but the coin may have some light scratching, slight discoloration, or minor wear on the raised areas. Coins in fine condition typically have some wear on the high points like Jefferson's hairline or Monticello's roof, but overall, it's still recognizable and collectible. Well, for a 2001 D Monticello nickel in fine condition, the value is pretty modest. As of now, the coin is generally worth about 10 to 25 cents in today's market. This is because it's not considered rare, and it's a relatively common date for the Jefferson Nickels series. Even in fine condition, the 2001 D Monticello nickel doesn't stand out in terms of rarity or demand. Most modern nickels, especially from the early 2000s, are fairly abundant and don't carry much premium unless they're in better condition or have a specific error. For comparison, a 2001 D Monticello nickel in uncirculated or higher grades, say MS65 or above, could be worth anywhere from $1 to $2 or more, depending on the exact grade and market demand. But if you're holding a 2001 D in fine condition, you're likely not going to see a big profit. That said, if you have a collection of nickels from the early 2000s, they might still hold value to you as part of a larger set. And hey, you never know, sometimes demand for specific years can fluctuate over time. So what's the takeaway here? A 2001 D Monticello nickel in fine condition isn't going to make you rich, but it's still a nice piece of history from the Jefferson Nickels series. Whether you're collecting for fun or looking to sell, understanding the condition and rarity of your coins is key to getting the right value. Next up, the 1984 P Monticello nickel struck at the Philadelphia Mint. If you've got one of these in fine condition, you might be wondering what it's worth today. Stick around as we break down its current market value and what makes this coin interesting to collectors. So let's start with the basics. This is the 1984 P Monticello nickel, part of the ongoing Jefferson Nickels series. As you can see, the obverse features a portrait of Thomas Jefferson, while the reverse shows Monticello, Jefferson's home in Virginia. The P mint mark means it was minted in Philadelphia. This design has been used since 1938, and it's a familiar one for many collectors. But what we're focusing on today is the condition of this coin and how that impacts its value. Now, the coin we're discussing today is in fine condition. In coin grading, fine condition means the coin has been circulated but still has most of its major features visible. You might notice some wear, particularly on the raised areas like Jefferson's portrait or the top of Monticello, but the details are still pretty clear. Here you can see that in fine condition, there's light wear on the highest points of the coin, but Jefferson's facial features and Monticello's outlines are still clearly visible. It's not mint state, but it's certainly not heavily worn or damaged either. At present, a 1984 P Monticello nickel in fine condition is valued at about 10 to 20 cents in today's market. While this is slightly above face value, it's not a coin that's going to make you a fortune. Most modern nickels, especially from the 1980s, are fairly common and don't carry much premium unless they're in better condition or have unique errors. Now, if this coin were in higher grades like uncirculated or MS65, you could see values rise to $1 or $2 or more depending on the exact grade and the current market demand. But for a fine condition 1984 P nickel, you're looking at a modest value. For comparison, a nickel in higher grades, say MS65, might be worth a couple of dollars. However, in fine condition, it's really just a nice, well-worn piece of history. So, is it worth holding on to a 1984 P Monticello nickel in fine condition? Well, for most collectors, it won't break the bank, but it could still be a nice addition to your collection, especially if you're building a set of Jefferson nickels or looking to collect coins from specific years. Coins like this one are a great reminder that condition matters in the coin market. Even though this 1984 P Monticello nickel isn't worth a lot, it's still a piece of numismatic history, and it might be worth keeping if you're interested in the series. Next up, the 1995 P Monticello nickel in good condition, and we're going to break down its current value in the market today, if you've got one of these nickels or you're just curious about what coins like this are worth. So let's get into it. This is the 1995 P Monticello nickel, part of the iconic Jefferson nickel series. On the obverse, you'll find the well-known portrait of Thomas Jefferson. And on the reverse, you've got Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia home. The P mint mark indicates that this coin was minted in Philadelphia. This design has been in circulation since 1938, and it's a familiar sight to many collectors. But today, we're focusing specifically on the 1995 P version, and more importantly, its condition. This particular coin is in good condition. Now, what does that mean for coin collectors and numismatists? In coin grading, good condition refers to a coin that has been heavily circulated. The details are still visible, but there's significant wear, especially on the raised areas like Jefferson's face and Monticello's roof. As you can see, the details are still somewhat visible, but you can tell that the coin has seen a lot of circulation. Jefferson's features are worn down, and Monticello's edges are a bit flattened, but it's still recognizable. Well, based on the current market, a 1995 P Monticello nickel in good condition is generally worth about 5 to 10 cents. It's close to face value, but it's a bit higher because of its status as a collectible coin, even in a worn state. Most modern nickels from the 1990s don't carry a huge premium unless they're in uncirculated condition or have some sort of unique error. So in good condition, you're really looking at a modest increase over its original 5-cent value. Just for comparison, if this coin were in a much better grade, say uncirculated or MS65, it could be worth $1 or more. But for a 1995 P nickel in good condition, you won't see that kind of value. It's all about the condition. That being said, if you have a collection of 1995 P Monticello nickels in different conditions, it can still be fun to compare and see how the value changes with different grades. And if you're holding on to a stack of these, remember that even modestly valued coins can add up over time if you've got a lot of them. Coins like this 1995 P Monticello nickel are a reminder that while some coins may not be worth a lot, they still hold a place in history and they can be valuable as part of a complete collection. Next up, the 1948 Monticello Jefferson nickel without a mint mark. If you've got one of these or you're just curious about its value, stick around, you're going to want to hear this. Here's the 1948 Jefferson nickel, and if you look closely, you'll notice something very important. This coin doesn't have a mint mark. That means it was struck in Philadelphia, which is actually the only mint that didn't use a mint mark that year. Now, let's talk about its value in today's market, and specifically if you've got this coin in extra fine condition. An extra fine coin, by definition, has minimal wear and tear, with most of the design still visible in sharp details. It's a pretty good condition, but not quite perfect. In extra fine condition, the 1948 Jefferson nickel is worth more than just its face value of 5 cents. As of 2024, you can expect to see prices for this coin ranging from $3 to $5, depending on its exact condition, the current market, and any collector interest. Now, that may not seem like a huge amount, but considering this is a 1948 coin that has been in circulation for decades, it's definitely worth keeping an eye on. And if your coin is in higher grade, say extremely fine or even uncirculated, it can be worth a lot more, potentially up to $25 or $30 or more. The condition of the coin is crucial. Coins are graded based on factors like wear, luster, and overall appeal. An extra fine coin means it has seen some circulation but still retains most of its original details. So if you've got one of these 1948 Jefferson Nickels without a mint mark in your collection, now you know what it's worth in extra fine condition, but always remember the value of a coin can fluctuate based on demand and trends in the market. If you're thinking about selling, it's a good idea to check with a professional appraiser or consult online marketplaces to get an up-to-date valuation. And don't forget, if you're not sure whether your coin is in extra fine condition or something else, a little closer inspection can help. And remember, condition matters a lot when it comes to value. Next up, the 1981 Jefferson Nickel with the P mint mark. Specifically, we're going to discuss its value in today's market, even when it's in a dirty, worn condition. So if you've got one of these coins lying around, you might want to keep watching. The 1981 Jefferson Nickel was struck by the U.S. Mint at the Philadelphia Mint, marked by the P mint mark on the reverse side. This coin features the familiar design of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and on the obverse and Monticello on the reverse, which is where the name Monticello nickel comes from. Now, we all know that coin values can vary depending on their condition. So what's the deal with a 1981 nickel in dirty or worn condition? Coins are graded on a scale from poor to mint state, but we're specifically talking about coins in less than ideal condition, maybe with some dirt, tarnish, or wear from circulation. In this kind of condition, the 1981 P Jefferson Nickel is usually worth just 5 to 10 cents its face value, or maybe a little more if the coin is particularly well worn but still recognizable. Now, you might be thinking, why is this coin worth so little? Even if it's from a specific year, well, that's because the 1981 P Jefferson Nickel was produced in large numbers, around 1.5 billion of them. So it's not exactly rare, and the value really depends on its overall condition. Coins that are in cleaner, better condition, especially those that are uncirculated or near mint, can be worth more. But for a dirty or worn coin like this one, the value isn't going to be much higher than its face value. However, if you happen to have a 1981 Jefferson Nickel in a higher grade, say in uncirculated or even MS65 condition, it could be worth a little more, sometimes even $1 to $2, or slightly higher depending on the market. But again, in the condition we're talking about here, the dirty or worn 1981 P nickel isn't going to fetch much. If you want to know about other Jefferson Nickels that are worth more, check out our other videos about rare error coins and key date varieties. Those can fetch a much higher price, especially if they're in excellent condition. Next up today, we're going to take a closer look at a 2000 Jefferson Nickel with the D mint mark, specifically one in extra fine condition. If you've got one of these in your collection or you found one in your change, you're probably wondering what's it worth today. The 2000 Jefferson Nickel is part of the modern series of nickels featuring the iconic design of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and Monticello on the reverse. The D mint mark indicates that this coin was struck at the Denver Mint. It's part of the ongoing series that started in 1938, with the Monticello reverse being used since 1938 until the end of the 20th century. So how does this coin stack up in terms of value in extra fine condition? Well, let's break it down. Extra fine, or XF for short, means the coin is only light wear and retains much of its original detail, but it's not perfect. You'll see a bit of smoothing on the highest points of the coin, like Jefferson's hair, but the overall design should still be sharp and easily recognizable. A 2000 Jefferson Nickel in extra fine condition typically goes for around 10 to 15 cents in today's market. It's close to its face value, but slightly above that because it's in better condition than a coin that's been heavily circulated or worn. Now, you might be wondering, is this coin worth anything more? Well, because the 2000 Jefferson Nickel with the D mint mark was produced in relatively high numbers, around 1.6 billion. It's not a rare coin, and therefore its value doesn't go up significantly unless it's in higher grades. Coins in higher grades like mint state MS63 or 65 can be worth a bit more, anywhere from 50 cents to a couple of dollars, depending on the exact grade and demand in the market. So if you've got a 2000 Jefferson Nickel in extra fine condition, don't expect to make a huge profit off of it. It's a nice coin to have in your collection, but unless it's in uncirculated condition or has some rare die variety, its value won't be much more than a dime or a quarter. If you're into Jefferson Nickels, though, there are plenty of rare ones to look out for, especially certain years and eras that can fetch significant sums. So be sure to check out our other videos where we talk about key dates and varieties that can make your collection more valuable. And thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more coin collecting content. See you next time. Happy collecting.